With more on the Tunisian election is Lawrence. He's from the Project on Middle East Democracy, and we've had him on the broadcast before to talk about Tunisia because in many ways it's kind of the crown jewel of the Arab Spring. What do you make of this election? Were you surprised at the results?
I was a little bit surprised. We all kind of knew that Beji Qaid Sebsi would win, but he kind of ran away with it. There was about 11-point spread between him and the runner-up, and that was more than most of the pollsters expected. Tunisia is, as you said, the one bright shining light from the Arab Spring, and this is a historic election of great importance. But Tunisia is entering a very difficult period right now. Security difficulties, economic crisis looming, and so leadership's going to be very important in the near future.
There's been difficulties on the road, though. A lot of bumps along the way to get to this stage. Yeah. This man has ties to the past, moving forward. Does that create obstacles, problems? I mean, isn't that the thing? You want to turn the page, and yet here we go, back to someone who's rather familiar.
Yeah, back to the future. Yeah. It's an 88-year-old gentleman who's going to have to make it to 93 to finish his term. And he started his political career in the 1950s while the French were still controlling Tunisia. So he's seen it all, and that's basically why he won the election, because Tunisians were looking for a steady hand in troubled times. But there's little indication that he's making any great break with the past. He runs the party that won the elections in a very sort of authoritarian manner. There's been no party Congress yet for that party, which has been around for about a year now. So a lot's going to depend on who he brings in around him and how much leeway they have to make changes. Otherwise, if the government remains static and doesn't introduce much in the way of reforms or economic stimulus, Tunisia is going to have a lot of problems.
You know, one of the things that we've witnessed watching the Arab Spring, an example, obviously, Egypt, there's an election, Morsi becomes president, then he becomes a prisoner, then they have a general come in, and when you look at the past, that's pretty much the standard, who ended up leading the country. Are there concerns at all that perhaps Tunisia might slip backwards?
Absolutely. I've even called this, in darker moments, a soft restoration. And there's no question that the youth protesting in the south of Tunisia today and attacking party headquarters are not happy. There's definitely a risk here of a return to the old authoritarian ways and a return to a bad human rights situation. I mean, already there's some sort of itching among the police to sort of reestablish security along the old lines. I think one of the red lines is going to be transitional justice. Tunisia has a robust program of transitional justice it would like to pursue, and a lot of the old injustices of the past could be either sorted out through this process or swept under the rug through this process, and it remains to be seen whether Tunisia is going to pursue that seriously.
How does one look at the verdict, or what will history's verdict be on the Arab Spring, do you think?
I think it'll be negative. Historians like myself, I'm originally trained as a historian, like to compare the Arab Spring to 1848. And in 1848 in Europe, that was sort of when they all rose up against the monarchies and a wave of protests across Europe. Only one regime changed colors. But over the next 20, 30, 40 years, most of the monarchies began to either be swept away or the monarchies became more symbolic, you know, constitutional parliamentary monarchies. I think we had a similar thing with the Arab Spring. Deep structural changes in the Arab world began with the Arab Spring, but we're not going to see the fruits of it in most of these countries for as long as decades.
The lens of time is how we should probably view things. William Lawrence, thank you so much for coming in. Appreciate it.